Good evening, and welcome once more. Tonight we turn to one of the most cherished and enduring traditions in Chinese culture, the tale of the 12 animals of the Zodiac. Where did they come from? Why do they stand in this particular order? What do they signify, and how have they shaped across centuries the way people think about time, destiny, and character? From the legend of the great race to the symbolism of each creature, the zodiac is at once myth, culture, and a mirror of life's very rhythm. As always, I find myself wondering, where are you now as you listen to these words? And what hour is it upon your clock? And if you find joy in this telling, support it with your attention, with a subscription, with a single word. And now, let us begin. The story carries us into the heavens, where the Jade Emperor sat within his celestial court, a hall no less magnificent than the grandest imperial palace. Noble attendants stood in silent reverence. Messengers arrived and departed, bearing decrees. Scrolls were written, sealed, and dispatched to the mortal world. The emperor conceived a new way of measuring the years for humankind. He wished for a system that was simple enough for a farmer to grasp, yet lofty enough to reflect the majesty of heaven itself. Thus he proclaimed a race. 12 animals would compete for their seats of honor. The order in which they crossed the finish line would decide the sequence of years. But this race was no mere dash across a flat plain. The path was cut by a wide and restless river. Water would determine the outcome. Each beast would face a choice: to swim, to float, to seek aid, or to rely on cunning. The finish line lay on the far shore, in full view of the celestial court. No one could claim deceit, for the rules were clear. Reach the bank, cross the line, and earn your place in the circle of years. The great race bound the heavens to the toil of everyday life. Each animal claimed not only a place in the calendar, but also a station in the hours of the day and the points of the compass. The 12 earthly branches marked 12 double hours. The hour of Z, from 11 at night until 1 in the morning, belonged to the rat. The hour of Cho, from 1 to 3, to the ox, and so the cycle turned. Priests, builders, sailors, and travelers all learned to read these branches and employ them in their work. The cycle also wove through the seasons. In northern China, the rabbit was linked with early spring and tender sprouts, the horse with the burning heat of summer, the dog with autumn winds, and the pig with the stillness of winter. The animals were not mere decoration, but a living instrument, reflecting the earth's rhythm. The myth did not stand still. It braided itself with history and traveled far beyond the Middle Kingdom. Vietnam replaced the rabbit with the cat. Japan renamed the pig as the boar. In Thailand and the Himalayas, the dragon sometimes appeared as a mighty serpent. Yet the order held firm, the river and the finish line unchanged, even as details shifted with the taste and tradition of each land. Such was the strength of a living legend. Its frame endured, while its colors were painted anew again and again. The Jade Emperor himself embodied an ancient vision, heaven imagined as a kingdom. Scholars and storytellers shaped this image through centuries. Rituals gave it form. Folk faith gave it voice. The emperor presided, judged, delegated, and built roads in the skies that mirrored those on earth. When he called, the world listened. In later tellings, his place was sometimes given to the Buddha, hosting a feast or trial. Yet the essence remained. A divine patron fixed the order of things, ensuring that years circled in harmony rather than scattering into chaos. Over time, the animals grew into their characters. The rat became quick-witted and shrewd. the ox patient and strong, the tiger brave, the rabbit cautious, the dragon noble, the snake wise, the horse free, the goat gentle, the monkey lively and clever, the rooster precise, the dog loyal, the pig generous. They were mirrors of human nature itself, distilled into creatures a child could remember. Even now, the echo of this legend resounds each New Year's Day. Red paper charms adorn doors, lanterns scatter darkness, fortune-tellers consult the cycle for fates and marriages, and elders remind children of Benmingyan, the year when one's own sign returns, advising them to wear red for protection. The sacred and the simple sit at the same table. The river still waits ahead. The finish line still lies across the shore. The only question remains, who will reach it first and why? The story answers by showing not just strength, but wisdom, friendship, and the art of timing. This is why the great race endures. It is no mere tale. It is a map of life, a guide for the path one must walk. Every year of the rat is not simply the rat. It may be a wooden rat, or a fire rat, an earth rat, a metal rat, or a water rat. The 60-year cycle moves invisibly forward, shading time with new tones and giving flavor to the stories people tell. The wooden rat is inventive, generous with ideas. The fire rat is bold, a little restless. The earth rat is steady, practical. The metal rat, precise and unyielding. The water rat listens deeply and adapts. When elders recall which year rat had passed before, they often remember not the calendar itself, but the events that marked their lives. The year 1900 was a metal rat, so was 1960, and 2022 bore the metal rat sign. People recall those years not because of the name, yet the zodiac preserves them in a special drawer of memory, one that opens when comparing past to present. The personal circle works the same way. Each sign returns every 12 years. This return is called the Year of Destiny. Families warn, be cautious when your own sign arrives. It is said to be a hidden contest with the spirit that rules the year. A simple remedy is to wear red. A grandmother ties a scarlet thread around a child's wrist. An aunt sends red socks. This is not fashion, but protection. Red wards off misfortune and invites goodwill. And if hardship still comes, the rat will visit the temple, offer incense, and seek peace with the keeper of the book of time. In art, the rat has its own dual nature, between luck and mischief. On New Year's prints, plump white mice pull ropes of coins, spilling them into bowls. It is a pun, to count coins and to count mice. Children laugh, shopkeepers hang the prints by their doors. But in opera and old romances, rats take another form. In one Ming tale, 5 city rats are clever thieves who end by serving justice. They steal, hide upon rooftops, yet bring truth to the judge. In this duality lies the essence of the rat. It steals and reveals, takes and restores. Step beyond China's borders, and the mask shifts, though the bones remain. In Japan, the white mouse often accompanies the god of wealth, Daikokuten, sitting content beside his bags of rice, a promise of abundance. In Vietnam, the rabbit becomes the cat, yet the rat still begins the cycle. Folk painters in Hanoi once drew rat weddings, mocking human vanity and desire. In northern China, New Year's woodblocks depict rat marriages lit with lanterns and palanquins. Not malice, but a playful smile at what happens when wants run too far. The rat even touches the human body. In old medicine, hours of the night were linked with organs. The rat's hour belonged to the gallbladder, the next to the liver. not science, but the wisdom of nocturnal watchers. They said that at midnight the gallbladder found courage for bold steps, and before dawn the liver softened the blood. A modern doctor may disagree, but the image remains. The rat stands at the threshold where courage and caution meet. In books on marriage, the rat too found its place. The rat husband was said to guard the storeroom and stretch every coin. The rat wife, quick at accounts, keen at gain. These are but old proverbs, born of the habit of seeking character in the creatures that share our calendar. The union of rat and ox was thought steady and sound, that with the horse, fiery and quarrelsome. A wise reader sees this as guidance for temperament, not fate's decree. The rat opens the cycle, and its years are filled with the spirit of beginnings. New ventures are launched, students sit their first exams, families rearrange furniture and start small enterprises. If the year proves hard, people say it is only the beginning, strength will gather. If fortunate, they praise the nimble creature for filling their sails with wind. Either way, the rat breathes lively energy into the calendar, pushing minds from memory toward the work of the present. In temples, the rat is not worshipped with the grandeur of the dragon or tiger, yet its sign appears quietly in rites. Rats are carved into beams of grain altars, both as reminder and as guardian. A tiny figure may be tucked beside the kitchen god, a token to safeguard oil and grain. In city shrines, zodiac wheels turn. Worshippers press a coin to their own sign and to that of ones whose favor they seek. The rat is touched first, for it stands at the beginning. Every prayer requires the small courage of a start, and that courage belongs to the rat. Gather its image into one, and it rests again on the ox's shoulder. Not beautiful, but swift, able to climb and hold on, knowing the worth of kindness. Thus it claimed its place in the circle and held it through centuries, in chronicles and almanacs, in paper cuttings and seals, on shop signs and in neighbors' talk. It remains a whisper in the rafters. Be watchful. Check the water's edge. Count what you have. Be ready to go. The calendar calls that whisper wisdom. A steady nature, plain speech, broad shoulders to lean upon. Yet alongside these virtues walk shadows, stubbornness that knows no measure, slowness in forgiving, the habit of placing labor above joy. These are not destiny, but rails along which life runs until one chooses to step away. So it is in marriage. Harmony comes from balance. The rat fits well beside the ox, each bringing what the other lacks. The snake, with its patience, and the rooster, with its love of order, suit it also. The goat may too, but only if both learn to yield, else their coats bristle against one another. If you wish to grasp the ox in its fullness, set two images side by side, the race and the calendar. In the first, a creature that took the river with nothing but breath, muscle, and a steady gaze. In the second, a sign hidden deep in winter, promising that the earth will not falter until dawn. Both speak the same truth. The world may admire dazzling minds, but it endures upon those who simply do the work. The ox did the work. It did not complain, it did not flatter. It crossed, and it stood waiting until its name was called. From that time on, every year that bears its mark demands the same, patience and labor from those who inherit it. Dawn gathered itself like a pale ribbon at the edge of the world. Mist lay upon the river so thick it seemed as though the water whispered softly to itself. The tiger descended from rocks and brush with a step that required no ornament, no gesture wasted. He was made for labor that asked no witness. Muscles wrapped a sturdy frame that had never known emptiness. His head swayed faintly, measuring the shore, the current, the depth. He caught the scent of silt and reeds. His gaze fell upon a flat stone where the herald stood with the staff that would signal the counting of years. The tiger did not pose. That belonged to lesser beings, or to tales retold afterward. He lowered himself to the water, feeling its bite as the river seized his paws. The staff struck stone, and the tiger entered, not a single splash in excess. His first strokes were heavy, pressing downward, breaking the surface, searching for the slow thread of current. His body rose, found rhythm, the rhythm every hunter knows. Breath in, thrust with 4 limbs, keep the head high. The river greeted each creature in its own way. It sought to twist the tiger sideways, to steal his balance. He answered with pure work. He did not look back, not at the dog's grin, not at the horse's even stride, not at the rat riding upon the ox. His eyes fixed only upon the far bank, where the stones of the finish lay in their arc, and where the heavenly court prepared to inscribe the order by which mankind would live. Midstream, a vein of icy strength rose from below, as though alive. His whiskers trembled, his chest burned, his paws found no bottom. The current whispered, "Here you will yield." But the tiger thrust his muzzle low to the water and bit deeper into the stream. His shoulders rose and fell, a growl tore from his chest, and the river did not falter. Yet the tiger did what he must. He found a pocket of silence within the fury and cut through it as with a blade. The world narrowed to the sound of lungs, and the next thrust forward. The stones of the finish grew wider, nearer, sharper. The tiger did not hurry. He did not beg the water for mercy. In him boiled that very fury which bows to no one. He emerged onto the shore, shook the river from his coat in a shimmering veil that caught the first light. He bounded the last steps across wet ground and stood upon the finished stones. Scribes lifted their eyes, dipped their brushes, and wrote, "Third." The rat was first. The ox was second. The tiger stood, breathing like bellows, looking at no one. Upon his face was written, "The world may be unjust, but it cannot deceive the one who does not deceive himself." The Jade Emperor regarded him closely and gave a single short nod, as if to say, "Courage is a law unto itself." The tiger claimed his place without ghost. He had no need. The river still thundered behind, and the marks on his body told the story better than words ever could. But that triumph was only the beginning. The calendar and the ancient mind moved onward. The tiger took the third earthly branch. The ancients called it yin. It belonged to the double hour from 3 to 5 in the morning, when night grows thin and the first birds test the air with solitary notes. It held the first lunar month, when the year is young, yet the fields already feel the sap rising beneath their frozen skin. Its direction was east, bending northward. In the 5 elements, it bore wood, but not the patient wood of late spring, rather wood newly awakened, straining upward through soil. The tiger stood at the threshold where winter yields and the world gathers for new strength. Compare the race with the calendar, and the picture comes alive. The tiger wrestles the river and claims third place. His sign guards the hour when the lungs open and fill the body with clean force. Ancient physicians assigned that time to breath itself. They said, at that hour the chest must open, and the mind must find its first clarity. Men and women who rose before dawn to sharpen a plowshare or to light the stove knew it without tables. They breathed the cold, and their lungs answered. The tiger inscribed this knowledge into the hours. The year of the tiger carries a mood everyone recognizes. It is noisy, restless, full of motion. It tries the weak and crowns the bold. Families speak of it over tea. Merchants whisper of it in markets as they weigh what is to come. A child born in the year of the tiger carries the same weather in stories of his nature. brave, at times hasty, honest to pain, quick to defend and just as quick to forgive when his fur lies flat. These praises beat like drums, and the same words serve as warning. The tiger's temper may outrun thought, may leap into waters deeper than they appear. No one believes the calendar rules fate, but all believe that names help hold what we already notice in ourselves and others. The name of tiger preserves courage. He has allies and adversaries upon the great wheel. His finest work he does beside horse and dog. Together they form harmony, passion, endurance, and loyalty braided into a cord that will not break. Across from him sits Monkey. Tails delight in pitting them against each other, for cunning pricks pride, and pride tramples jest. His hidden ally is the boar. Between them lies a trust simpler and more precious than strength. So a village barber or a temple keeper would pass the hour, opening the almanac and speaking plain truths through symbols. Each year of the tiger wears its own element, and the element stains its stripes. The wooden tiger builds, plants, cuts paths through the thicket. The fire tiger burns fiercely, consuming the excess and clearing space. The earth tiger tames raw force and makes it useful. The metal tiger is sharp and unyielding. The water tiger waits and then strikes sudden and true. When elders sit in shade and recall, they say, "That year such a tiger came to the village. A bold uncle married in spring. Men were gathered to mend the dam. 2 cousins quarreled and reconciled by harvest." It is not science, but a way for the community to read time through shared images. The tiger lives not only in the calendar, but also in law and in the emblems of authority. Armies moved only when a commander bore the bronze token shaped like a tiger, its twin half kept at court. The 2 halves joined, and the troops accepted it as proof that the order came from the throne. This token they called the tiger tally. Set it beside the beast that crossed the river, and you will see one line. The state chose the tiger as symbol of strength that advances without fear. The people carried the same thought in their homes, only gentler. To a newborn they gave a cap shaped like a tiger's face. Little shoes with ears and painted whiskers placed the child's feet upon a guarded path. Mothers said, "The tiger will drive away all that hunts the weak. Be brave like the mark upon your brow." Walk a market at New Year, and you will see another face of the tiger. Paper prints show him among pines, tail arched, eyes glowing like coins, the character for king shining on his forehead. Artists drew that line so often, the mind sees it even when the brush does not. Traders hang such sheets upon doors that face crossroads where drafts and misfortunes wander. Children ask for no explanations. They laugh, point, and learn their lesson later. Adults each time lay a finger upon the paper as they pass. The tiger strides through stories as both trial and teacher. A man boasting of his strength meets the striped beast in the thicket and learns the price of pride. A hunter hears crying, finds a cub tangled in a root, carries it home, raises it, and must choose between love and safety when the beast grows and prowls the yard. A judge hears a case. Peasants swear they saw a man turn into a tiger during a storm. He must decide, reason or fear, and yet keep the village safe. In every tale, the beast is more than a killer. It compels clear speech about duty and risk. He who has heard the tiger's cough in bamboo will not call him mere allegory, and he who has endured a harsh season will know why this creature became the measure of human courage. There is another tiger in the sky, not bound to the 12-year cycle. The white tiger of the west rules 1/4 of the heavens, embodying autumn, metal, and the setting sun. At times, the two are confused, but the zodiac tiger is springs, bearing wood. The tiger upon shields and drums is Western, the one who sees armies home. They are kin in form and spirit, but not the same herald. To keep thought clear, one must tell them apart. The sign holds special weight when it returns in a person's birth year. Elders call it the year of destiny. They say the ruler of that year watches more closely. It may grant fortune, or it may set trials. A red thread on the wrist, a red belt, a quiet visit to the temple with ancestral tablets and rising incense. These are ways to say, I will receive what comes with steady heart. The tiger asks not for ease. He demands honest struggle and a clear gaze. The tiger gave birth to words that spread into every corner of life. Paper tiger, for what looks fierce but is hollow within. Tiger mother, for the parent who holds a child at the edge and teaches him to stand. Languages multiply the images, and the beast moves on, losing none. That is the strength of the symbol. It accepts the new without discarding the old. Mist lay low upon the river. Reeds clattered like tiny bones. The rabbit peered into the water as a cautious farmer might study a new plot of land. He did not pretend he could swim. He bore neither the ox's weight nor the tiger's fury. What he had were quick wits, light feet, and a sense of edges. He searched for a path that would not force him to be what he was not. By the bank, the rabbit noticed a scatter of stones. Some barely showed above the flow. Others were slick with weed. He tested them, guided only by need. A leap, another, a third. Each step a guess, refined by instinct. Miss, and the river would swallow. Land true, and another stretch was behind him. Once he slipped, but regained balance with a turn too subtle for any heavier beast. He waited, steadied, pressed on. There, too, is courage, not in the roar of battle, but in the breath a worker takes before lifting once more. Midstream, the stones ended. Across his way stretched a dark band of foam-flecked current, like teeth. The rabbit sought mercy that was not mercy, and found it. A log, borne by flood, drifted slowly toward the reeds. He leapt, claws catching bark. The log pitched. He crouched low and rode it like a boat no hand had carved. For a time the river owned him. Then a clear wind slid down the channel and smoothed the wave. The log steadied and moved toward the opposite bank, as if guided. The rabbit lifted his eyes and saw a shadow above the mist. Later, the dragon would say nothing of it. If asked, he might nod. But the Jade Emperor saw the truth and did not object. In a just world, there is room for help that honors effort. The log grounded in the mud beneath willows. The rabbit sprang, dashed the last steps on chilled feet that still remembered the current. The stones of the finish stood in their arc, dark and wet. The scribes waited with brushes. The rat was already written. The ox already written. The tiger had only just shaken the river from his coat. The rabbit placed his paws upon the stone, and the staff rose and fell. Fourth place, without a shadow of doubt. The court shifted aside. The emperor inclined his head, a sign that spoke, quick thought and quiet persistence are virtues beneath heaven. Yet the tale that ends on the bank is only the beginning. The rabbit's place in the race is but the first page of a long book. The rest was set down in the calendar. The rabbit claimed the fourth earthly branch. In the old tongue, it was called Mao. It holds a double hour, those fragile moments before dawn until sunrise itself, when household hearths flare up again, and the first pale line of light turns the night's blackness into a gentle blue. It corresponds to the second lunar month, the time when frost begins to loosen its grip and the first shoots break through soil that from afar still looks dead. Its direction is east. Its element is wood, awakening in buds, green in growth, quick in sap. Compare these facts with the rabbit's crossing, and they echo one another. A light creature finds a light path across a dark river and steps ashore where morning already begins to lift. Stand in a village street in the hour of the rabbit, and you will learn more than any almanac can print. Roosters argue, but have not yet conquered the sky. A pot lid creaks, and someone stirs the breakfast broth. A child murmurs in sleep and rolls toward the first warmth of the day. This hour belongs to preparation. Old physicians said, the body cleanses itself in this moment. In their charts, the large intestine was given this duty, and over the hour they drew the figure of the rabbit. A modern doctor may disagree, yet the image is useful. The day runs smoother if the morning begins with purity. The rabbit inscribed this simple truth upon the hours. A rabbit year brings a similar mood to those who still listen to the world's hidden patterns. Spring manners instead of winter laws. Gentle voices instead of sharp commands. Roofs and bridges are mended without speeches or assemblies. In such years, diplomacy and the careful craft of artisans rise in value. Rewards fall to those who are attentive and fair. Yet beside the praise comes a warning. Too much caution is a risk of its own. The river does not wait while you shift one more stone. Of those born in the rabbit's year, neighbors speak with words that praise, but without extravagance. Tender, caring, able to listen. Precise in details more important than they seem. Quick to still quarrels and slow to take offense. Such traits keep the kitchen warm. But shadows fall nearby. The urge to avoid conflict may turn into silence when words are needed. The wish to preserve peace at home may delay the tasks at hand. The calendar does not command a child, and no parent believes it does, but it gives a language for qualities that a family has already noticed. On the great wheel, the rabbit stands apart, with allies and opponents of its own. Its loyal companions are the goat and the pig. Together, they form a harmony of kindness and constancy, creating lives both hospitable and secure. The rabbit's hidden friend is the dog, a guarding partner in silence, and preserves what others have cherished. Its opposite is the rooster, two signs facing each other, and the old sayings call it a clash. The rooster values straight lines and schedules that never shift. The rabbit values softness and the sense of the moment. When they share one courtyard, the day passes in peace only if each understands what the other defends. The 5 elements color each rabbit year as light tints water at dawn and dusk. The wood rabbit is truest to itself. It grows, builds fences, sets lattices, and lays out garden beds. The fire rabbit is lively, able to rally friends to ventures that would stall without its warmth. The earth rabbit loves order and keeps accounts clean. The metal rabbit is precise, holding promises even when their cost rises. The water rabbit listens so carefully that plans turn for the better and no one is left slighted. Elders remember these names as milestones in family history. An aunt married in the spring of a wood rabbit year when the plum trees were white. A roof was repaired in a metal rabbit year after a storm left 2 rooms leaking. 2 cousins were born in a water rabbit year and grew up quiet and keen-eyed. These names hang like charms on the threads of memory. It is hard to speak of the rabbit without lifting your gaze to the moon. In China and across East Asia, people do not see a man's face in the moon but a rabbit's. Its ears lie flat, 4 paws holding a pestle above a mortar. Old tales say it pounds herbs for the elixir of immortality, or pounds rice for cakes that families share under lanterns at the autumn festival. Sometimes the rabbit is beside the heavenly maiden who fled to the moon with a stolen potion that both saved and punished her. Beside her grows the osmanthus tree, its fragrance drifting down into human courtyards in legend. Even now, festivals bring lanterns shaped like rabbits, sugar figures for children, and paper cutouts with long ears turned warily to the night. The image is so vivid that a child who has never heard the poems will still look up and whisper "rabbit," not knowing why. The greeting prints have their own wisdom. A plump white rabbit tugs at a rope, drawing coins that spill into a bowl. The joke is simple. In some dialects, the words for counting money and catching mice sound the same. The rabbit borrows luck from this play of words. Merchants smile, paste the print by their doors, and never explain why the bowl is always full. On other sheets, a rabbit chases a fox around a drum, an ancient wish that persistence will catch up with speed. None of this is lofty theology. It is the art of plain folk speaking of hope without bending truth. Travel and the sign changes its coat, but not its bones. In Vietnam, the rabbit becomes the cat. Explanations abound: the echo of an old word, the fondness for a hunter who guards rice from rats, or a tale that the cat did not oversleep the summons and earned its place fairly. Yet the sign's spirit there remains the same: spring, caution, domestic ease. In Japan and Korea, the rabbit stays a rabbit, and the moon legends live comfortably beside local ones. The calendar is wide enough. The river and its finishing stones remain unchanged. Medicine gives another view. The rabbit's hour is the time of cleansing before the day begins. Anyone who has lived with farmers has seen it without charts. They rise before the sun, sip hot water from a chipped mug, and trust the body to do its work when the world is in order. A trifle? Perhaps. But such trifles keep trouble from turning to illness. The rabbit teaches through quiet examples. Put your house in order, speak softly, and do not be ashamed to ask the wind for help when only a log lies between you and the far shore. In the long circle of years, everyone meets their own sign again and again. When the rabbit returns to one born under it, this is called the year of life. They say the year's guardian looks more closely then. Some call it luck, others a trial. The advice is always the same: wear a red ribbon, tie a red thread at the wrist, visit a temple and light incense for balance. Red does not decide fate, but it steadies the heart, and a steady heart is often enough. Return to the river for the last lesson. The rabbit never pretended to be a swimmer. It chose stones, a log, and the wind that a kind neighbor sent without request or reward. It reached the bank and took its place without boasting. Later, it became the emblem of the hour when work begins and the month when sprouts are born. It settled in the east where light is born, and it found friendship with the moon. It was praised for its softness and sometimes faulted for the same. Both judgments are fair. The sign deserves each. It reminds us, be attentive but not cruel. Give help, but do not shout of it. Keep faith in the small details that make a day clean and clear. Look upon the dragon itself, the way artists have known him through centuries. Antlers of a stag crown his head, yet his face is the long, solemn mask of a camel. In his eyes burns a demon's light. His neck coils like a serpent, his belly folds like the shell of a clam, and his scales shimmer with the brilliance of a carp. His talons match the eagle's in strength. His paws echo the tiger's in weight. His ears rise like those of an ox. He carries no wings, and yet he floats with ease among the clouds. His breath is mist. He twists and unwinds in patterns carved by woodcutters and stitched by weavers across generations. The meaning lies not in the tally of parts, but in the lesson it holds, what nobility means to a people. The dragon is a body woven of virtues, courage, swiftness, patience, vigilance. He refuses to let one gift destroy another. He seems to say, a ruler may carry them all at once, if only he remembers that rain heals more deeply than thunder. The Zodiac keeps a quieter school beside the grand one. A child born in the year of the dragon is greeted with a smile carrying both pride and caution. First comes the praise, a confidence that lifts others with it, a gift for leadership that needs no raised voice, a warmth that fills a hall and turns enemies into allies, a thirst for great plans, a disdain for pettiness. Then comes the warning. Pride grows fastest when it feeds on applause. Should the dragon forget to ask where the rain falls, he may wither his own fields while watering another's. Families use the language of signs to soften such truths, never as reproach, but as care. They watch the child with their eyes, not with books, yet names give them a way to speak of what they see. The dragon returns every 12 years, as each sign does. When he circles back to his own, elders call it the year of life. Then they caution, the Lord of the year sees you more clearly than others. Red cords are tied on wrists, scarlet belts sent to nephews in far cities, a reminder to visit the temple, to burn incense, to leave a modest offering for balance. None mistake this for a law of nature. It is a custom, steadying the heart. And a steady heart can bear great weight. Travel beyond the central plain, and the dragon keeps his form, yet takes on the color of the land. In Korea, Yong rules the waters and looks down from palace roofs where rain flows. In Japan, Ryu curls along the beams of shrines, gazing upon the basin where guests wash their hands. In Vietnam, his body grows longer still, and kings trace their lineage to those who rose from the Red River. Everywhere across these wide lands, the dragon brings life to the fields and authority to the court. Everywhere, children learn to draw him before they can write their own names. Set the dragon once more at the river, among smoothed stones, and he might have claimed first place. He brought rain. He gave the gift of breath to a small companion. He came fifth and bore no sorrow in it. The order born on that far shore remained in the count of days, of contracts, of birthdays. The tale hid its rule beneath bright scales. Power earns respect when it bends to aid without being asked. The dragon bore this law with dignity. When people hang a new woodcut on the door for New Year, when a shrine's robe glitters with coiling bodies, when children carry a painted head through the school parade, laughing as it dives and turns, they keep the dragon alive because they wish to keep the rule alive. If one must speak of the dragon in a single breath, let it be this: a force turned toward care. He walks the world that waits for rain and does not close his ears to those voices. He reaches the finish without complaint and gives place to others with honor. A child will understand this, and so will a minister of state. The lesson is equally vast and small. The year of life returns every 12 years, and when the snake meets her own, the elders speak as they always have. Wear red. It need be no more than a slender thread at the wrist or a sash at the waist. Go to the temple. Give your name to the star that governs this year. In money matters, Hold your counsel until spring yields fully to summer. If you have an enemy, do not choose this season for repayment. If you have a friend, speak plainly and in time. None of this is law. They are only cautions, kept because they have helped more often than they have harmed. There is another truth, quieter, known by farmers, but ready for anyone to learn. The snake leaves her old skin where the path narrows and the stones lie warm in the sun. Children find those ghostly shells under fences, carry them home, laugh at the way the thinned husk crumbles like paper. Grandfathers shake their heads and say, "Do not frighten your mother." Then they hide the fragile strip inside a book, one they will open on New Year's Eve. The meaning is not sorcery, it is intention. Leave behind what no longer fits. Keep the form that carries you more lightly. The sign preserves this lesson without words. Think back to the river and the wet stones on the shore. The snake did not triumph by strength or noise. She won because she stood where a small motion opened the road. She accepted a brief partnership with the strongest runner and took from him nothing but the right moment. She crossed and stood to be counted, then vanished from the scene as swiftly as she had come. The calendar holds that memory without flourish. Morning leans into noon. Spring folds into early summer. Food becomes strength. Words grow fewer. Work grows steady. Whoever loves this sign needs no slogans. Be watchful. Move when the time is ripe. Shed what you have outgrown. Such is the simple law of the snake. The river asked for no speeches. It asked for lungs and judgment. The horse stepped out from the tamarisk shadow and set its hooves in the cold mud as though it were an ordinary working day. Its head lifted, ears flicking toward the bank where the herald stood on a flat stone with his staff. Flies rose and sank in the damp air. The horse read the water with the patience of a veteran. It sensed where the current swelled and where it split apart. It knew the meaning of depth and of slippery gloss. Its breath was steady and deep, the breath that pulls the plow at noon and still holds strength enough for the climb at dusk. The staff struck stone. Morning broke into motion. The tiger took the river like a spear upon a throne. The ox entered it with the patient weight of earth itself. The rat, a gray comma, sat upon his shoulder. The hare chose the stones, then the log that seemed to drift into place of its own will. High in the sky, a long shadow lifted the wind, gave aid to the helpless, and did not remain for gratitude. The horse chose a clean entry and moved forward at the rhythm it had always known. Forelegs reached, hindquarters thrust, the head held level. The river tried to turn it sideways, and the horse replied with a stronger stroke. Half the torrent lay behind, the opposite bank drew closer, and with it grew the hope that the last surge would be the finest. The horse felt the bottom, first in fleeting touches, then with mounting certainty. It gathered itself for the leap that would make the stone a finish a fact. And then, from beneath its foreleg, a living loop slid free. No hiss, no bite, only a narrow shadow where a moment ago there had been nothing. Surprise struck the horse's heart and broke its stride by the width of a palm. A hoof slipped, a shoulder trembled. The snake slid like water on wet stone and crossed the line almost without a sound. The horse struck the stone a heartbeat later, exhaled through wide nostrils, and stood breathing hard, its eyes bright and stunned. The herald lifted his staff, 6th place to the snake, 7th to the horse. The crowd buzzed. There are always those who cheer cunning and those who despise it. The Jade Emperor argued with neither. It was simple: arrive and be counted. The snake had used a moment. The horse had used strength. Both served the rule. The horse shook the river from its coat and accepted the mark that would live as long as ink and calendar endured. It sought neither pity nor quarrel. A good animal recognizes a clean result and saves its pride for the next road. Now set that fleeting instant of the race beside the long breath of the year. The horse stands on the seventh branch of the ancient circle. The elders called this branch Wu. It holds the double hour, from late morning to early noon when the sun stands high and casts no long shadows. It holds the fifth lunar month, when spring ceases its quarrel with itself and summer takes the fields with open heat. The direction for Wu is due south. Its element is fire at its height. No book is needed to understand this. The horse is a creature made for light and for distance. Its best hour is the hour when the road burns, the heart pounds in the chest and refuses to slow. Old physicians gave that hour to the heart. They said it ruled the spirit and sent joy coursing through the blood when the sun was strong. They taught families to eat earlier and rest briefly at noon, lest the day's fire scorch the mind. Modern schools may draw another chart, but common sense has not spoiled with years. The horse's hour is when the village is loudest and then falls silent. When the work gang breaks apart, seeking the wall, a cup of tea, a handful of rice. When a man in the field lays a palm on his chest and smiles without knowing why. When a mare in the pen turns her head toward the south as if the world itself were calling. The year of the horse carries that same weather. It calls to movement, prizes courage, prefers open plans to closed rooms. Families say the year of the horse rewards those who rise early and walk on when others seek shade. And they add the warning that walks beside every gift. Heat tires even the strongest legs. Anger wastes the strength that should be saved for the final climb. The calendar does not command life. It offers a vocabulary for what every household already knows of time. Which seasons demand more of the body. A child born in the year of the horse gathers the same words around cradle and school desk. Lively, independent, honest enough to offend only the thin-skinned. A friend who will help move your belongings and laugh along the road. A lover of journeys, a storyteller able to sweep others along with a plan, street after street. The flaws lie close at hand and grow dangerous only if left unchecked. Impatience, the habit of starting many things at once, a taste for applause that turns into noise, the urge to leap and think later. A wise elder will praise the gift and teach restraint. Rise early, he will say, but know where you stand. Run fast, but understand where you run. The sign keeps company on the great circle. The horse is kin to the tiger and the dog. These three form a cord of fire and courage. The tiger gives the first charge. The horse gives speed and endurance. The dog gives the loyal heart that never leaves its post. The secret friend of the horse is the goat. Together they join striving with kindness and build a life that moves forward without forsaking home. Opposite sits the rat. They clash. One belongs to midnight, to stores and cautious tallies. The other to noon, to roads and open air. Their quarrel is no fate, but a lesson in patience when they share the same courtyard. The elements color every return of the horse. The wood horse clears thickets and forges new paths, stubborn in the best way. The fire horse burns bright and gathers followers without effort. The earth horse is steady and keeps the team together when others scatter.
The metal horse is disciplined and makes strict schedules easy. The water horse learns quickly and shifts with ease when plans meet weather. The elders remember these names as hooks for memory. A workshop opened in the year of wood, and the scent of sawdust still pleases its master. A cousin was born in the year of the fire horse and became a singer whose voice could fill a street. History is not law, but a way of storing the past so it can be found when needed. The horse lives in the history of the nation far beyond the zodiac. The first kings rode in chariots, their pairs matched as if chosen by dice. When the bow upon horseback changed war, the world turned upon the stirrup, the saddle, and the courage of riders who stood against winds thick with arrows. Border lords bought peace with horses and shattered peace with the same coin. Under an emperor of the Han dynasty who loved distant horizons, envoys rode west to seek the heavenly horses that were said to sweat blood. They found a tall breed in a distant valley and brought back herds that lengthened the stride and changed the army's face. Merchants traced roads through deserts and mountains with the bellies of their horses pressed against the wind, and whole valleys came to love tea because it could be traded for war horses to guard the passes. That trade left its name on the map, still echoing in memory like the creak of pack saddles. The tea and horse road wound through the clouds and bore salt, cloth, and tidings into places where distance was measured in days, not in streets. The horse left its image in art as well as in memory that gazes upon it. In a tomb, when the empire still remembered its first strength, a bronze horse runs upon the back of a swallow. The body is stretched, the legs in perfect gallop, and the bird beneath the hoof flies in the wind the horse itself creates. The craftsman left one hoof upon the bird and the rest free, so the statue's own weight would teach the eye speed. In the capital of a later age, the painter Han Gan stopped the city with a single picture. On silk, he painted a young horse so alive it seemed the next breath would carry it beyond the frame. That horse had a temper to shame generals, and the artist caught it in ink. In Tang tombs stand glazed figures with strong necks and broad chests, and even in clay, they knew they belonged to a life that loved movement. Children still learn to draw the curve of the neck and the hollow at the withers where the wind gathers. It is a lesson in what true strength looks like when it does not strive to appear strong.
There are other stories that bind life to the horse for the sake of wisdom. A man named Bo Lelai knew horses as if he had himself been born neighing. He could see the 1,000-li steed in a muddy yard where all others saw only a cripple. Since then, his name has been used for one who recognizes talent before the crowd does. A good tale for a young worker who thinks no one notices him. Keep your feet beneath you, an elder will say. The true eye will pass by and recognize you. Do not waste your heart in another's stable. Religion and law also take their share from the herd. At the city gates, one may still find a pair that greets arrivals and sees off departures, carved in stone, worn down by time. One bears the head of an ox, the other the face of a horse. They are officials of the underworld, keeping order among the dead and escorting the newly arrived, so that the living may sleep without hearing steps at night. In that role, they are not zodiac beasts. They are simply working guards, their mood the same, straight backs, heavy duties, no hunger for glory. In villages where fine animals are bred, there is a day when the Lord of Horses is honored with incense and noodles, thanked for strong stallions and gentle mares. The gods there resemble neighbors who have earned respect through honest labor. The sign of the horse travels easily. In Japanese shrines, it appears as a wooden plaque. once a substitute for a living offering to the gods. People write their wishes upon these little horses and hang them where the wind can read them. On the high islands of the southern seas, stubborn little tsuo ponies carry men across lava fields and win their own fame. In the far west of the lands where the old calendar still speaks, merchants tied bolts of cloth to their pack animals and led the columns along roads where the only guide was the scent of pine and the memory of a stone wall's turn. Everywhere the animal keeps the same core of meaning: freedom joined with service, speed that can be harnessed, pride that must be bridled. The horse enters the home as well. The guardians at the door know the difference between a skilled rider and a fool. If a family has a horse person among them, the elders give simple advice: leave earlier for the station. Keep your money where the sound of applause cannot find it. Remember, patience is the second name of endurance.
The same books that speak of marriage repeat the old unions. The tiger keeps the horse brave without making it reckless. The dog keeps it honest without making it dull. The goat tends the home the horse might forget. The rat will quarrel and tally, reminding that numbers matter as much as horizons. The ox will slow the horse and at times save it from a fall. None of this is law. It is a way of preparing for life among others in close quarters. When the horse meets its own year again, the family calls it a life year and seeks to calm the heart that already loves risk. They tie a red cord at the wrist or at the belt. They light incense to the Lord of the Year and speak their own names aloud so they may be heard. They do not ask for an easy road. They ask for clear weather and the good sense to rest at noon. In this lies all the horse's wisdom for the household. Run lightly, drink clean water. Let the heart slow beneath the hot sun, and then run again. Return to the river and give the beast its due. The horse did not lose itself in the moment of surprise. It only yielded place, but kept its dignity. It shook the water from its mane and stood to be counted. It is not first in the calendar, and need not be. Its hour is the hour when the sun stands at its zenith. Its road is the one that leads from the city and the one that brings you home again. Its work is the task from which others slip away into chatter. If you would know the horse by a single lesson, take this. Begin with courage, hold your stride, accept the surprises life hides in its sleeve, and end the journey with your head held high.
That morning, the river spoke in two voices. On the surface, swift and ringing. Beneath the skin, slow, heavy, like a word understood only by stones. The goat stood on the bank and listened to both. She did not stamp like the horse, nor square her shoulders like the ox. Her small hooves settled into a steady line. She sought a path that fit her body. The goat knew the slope, the thicket, the ledge that crumbles beneath weight. She knew to test the earth before trusting it. This habit had saved shepherds on mountain trails, and it saved her now, for the river rewarded not stubbornness, but prudence. The ford was uncertain. The nearest shallows fell into brown depth, and the middle was twisted by cords of current. Reeds bent low, and sunlight on ripples deceived the eye. Behind the goat, the herald raised his staff. A feathered shadow darted, glancing at the angle of the sun. The rooster spoke first, his voice short and clear. "There is no dry crossing here. We need cunning. We need oars. We need order." From a tamarisk branch, the monkey grinned. "Cunning? Yes, and hands that do not mind being wet?" The goat said nothing. She only swept the bank with a calm gaze and found a raft the river had almost built herself. Wind and time had woven branches and reeds into a tangle lodged against a fallen trunk. The goat stepped onto it, felt the weave stretch and hold, and chewed a leaf thoughtfully while the others watched. The trio worked as if they were a small crew that had quarreled for years, yet knew how to forget quarrels when the waters rose. The rooster found poles and counted the strokes. The monkey tied everything that could be tied, giving the raft a spine that would not buckle. The goat placed her weight where it was needed, using 4 legs like measured levers. The raft sighed, broke loose, and turned. The current seized it at once, spinning it like a flung bowl. The monkey laughed, drove her pole deep into the silt, and caught the bank. The rooster shouted a count, his voice carried to the opposite shore. The goat held the raft's nose steady with balance alone, as if she were holding a ledge above an abyss while a sudden wind tried to throw the herd down. The raft straightened. It moved in jerks and zigzags, not the straight lines swimmers prefer. They were not alone. Far upstream, the dragon had already veiled the sky with rain for the thirsty plain, then descended to smooth the river's fury for a smaller friend. The rat had leapt from the ox at the last step and heard the brush write her name. The tiger split water and air in one stroke and claimed the 3rd stone without apology. The rabbit rode a log and found kindness in a timely wind. The snake stole a moment of surprise and turned it into a place in the order that would last until the ink dried. The horse met surprise with pride that did not sour, but the crew of the raft had no time to think of this. Their raft struck a hidden stump and lurched. The monkey cursed with affection and shoved. The goat stepped into the narrow passage the river offered. The rooster never lost the count, never let the rhythm weaken. The far bank grew real. Reeds there looked like separate spears now, not a green wall. The goat smelled clay, willow, and the blessed rot that binds river soil. The raft touched and held. The monkey leapt first, tugging. The rooster vaulted neatly onto solid ground, held the stern with his pole like a mast on land. The goat stepped last, testing every patch of mud before trusting it. Then only did they run. It was the one moment that resembled a race. They reached the finishing stones in haste and stopped, a small comedy of elbows and feathers. The herald raised his staff, and the court smiled, as if such an arrival had been expected from the first decree. 8th place for the goat, 9th for the monkey, 10th for the rooster. The result was exactly what any who know teamwork would predict. The quiet one who holds the line first, the nimble one who fixes brakes second, the voice that counts and remembers the rules finishes the path. No speeches were needed. The Jade Emperor's gaze passed over the trio and lingered on the goat with warm approval for strength that does not shout. The goat bowed her head as a mountain beast bows it, simply, with the hint that the work was done, and it had been worth it.
Thus another stone was laid upon the calendar. It belonged to the creature who moved with others and never pretended she could fly alone. This was the page of the race. The rest of the chapters the calendar itself would keep. The goat occupies the 8th earthly branch. The ancients named it Wei. It marks the double hour from 1 to 3 in the afternoon, when heat presses hardest and even lively courtyards fall into drowsy silence. It marks the 6th lunar month, the heart of summer in most lands, when in the north hay is drying, and in the south the hills ring with insects and drip with leaves. Her direction is the southwest, the corner of the compass that belongs to long light and to slopes where day leans toward evening. In the old language of the elements, Wei holds the root of earth with traces of fire and wood under the rule of the season. Compare the raft to these measures. The images match. The goat places weight where it is needed and carries the day through the fiercest heat without excess noise.
The goat does not roar in opera or stride on stage in armor of scales, yet in stories her weight is felt. In one parable, a lamb bends its knees to drink from its mother. Teachers show this and speak of gratitude. Children grow and remember the posture of that knee. A simple tale, yet such ones hold a household when it is noisy and the day is long. In other stories, the goat proves that soft manners do not mean weak will. A shepherd boy outplays the wolf because he knows the land better than hunger. A grandmother carries a kid across a ridge that frightens men and arrives laughing, for her feet know each stone by name. Medicine and household rules mark this sign as carefully as temples do. The goat hour is good for drinking water and resting the eyes. It is time to sort tasks. What must be done now? What may wait till evening? If a goat child is born in a family that loves early wins, an aunt will remind them, finishing is also victory. If a goat marries into a house full of loud signs, a cousin quietly gives her the keys and the account books, proud that the roof no longer leaks on festivals. When the goat meets her own year, elders repeat what they told the others. Tie a red thread around the wrist, wear a small red sash if you wish. Visit the temple where the year's stars are honored, speak your name, and the keeper will hang it on the right hook. Do not frighten yourself with street gossip that goat years are unlucky for births. Such talk is empty and changes with fashion. A calm home raises strong children in any cycle. A thoughtful plan makes a good year under any sign. The red thread is only for the mind. A calm mind keeps the house. There is another small lesson the goat gives more clearly than others. One need not cross every river alone. The goat never pretended to be a swimmer. She found a raft. She found friends. She placed weight where it was needed. She watched the water and kept a straight line. She yielded the first leap to one who leaped faster and accepted the order of arrival as fair. In return, she gained a place that has outlived dynasties, migrations, and fallen altars. The number 8 suits the goat. It looks like two pairs reaching toward each other and holding. If you wish to see the sign in a single image, return the goat to the raft with the monkey and the rooster. The water roars. The poles are slick. The bank is farther than it looks. The goat bows her head, finds balance at the prow, and sets the rhythm with steadiness alone. The others grow surer from her presence. Such is the goat's work in year and in home, to hold the line straight, to help the team arrive together.
The monkey crouched low, studied the wreckage, and pulled. She bent branches, wove lianas, fastened roots and twigs as though she were feeding a spine into the raft from the gifts of the shore. A young trunk became a brace, a vine became rope, a crossbeam held the prow from snapping. The goat stepped onto the raft and froze at that one point where her weight gave the greatest balance. The rooster found straight bows and took his place at the stern. Captain, not by title, but by stance, admitting openly that this ship had been a heap of rubbish only a moment ago. The herald's staff struck stone, and the river answered. The raft tore free from its roots with a hiss, like breath forced through clenched teeth. The first tug of midstream twisted its nose toward disaster. The monkey laughed, not carelessly, but with recognition. This was work worth doing. She drove the pole deep, feeling the might of the current run the length of her arms. She read the riverbed by touch, moved the prow hand over hand. The rooster counted aloud, a voice all could hear. The goat did what goats do best on crumbling slopes, stood where balance lived and would not be shifted. The raft leveled itself. It lurched, but forward. It struck a hidden root and threatened to turn broadside. The monkey caught the swing and made it serve. 3 thrusts from the opposite bank carried them past a foaming whirlpool that might have rolled them under.
The raft behaved as though someone had finally taught the river her own language. And overhead, greater stories unfurled. The dragon gave his last strength where it mattered most, gifting the rabbit a breath of wind, though the rabbit never knew if it had been real. The rat chose both a bearer and a moment, and both choices proved true. The ox endured the long labor without complaint. The tiger showed the waters how courage appears when nothing else can be mistaken for it. The snake acted with judgment and claimed her place as though in a whisper. The horse held her dignity even when surprise stole the place she had nearly won. The raft's crew saw none of this. They had no time. The monkey counted with the rooster, not in rhythm with numbers, but with faith. The goat leaned and turned her hooves into the sharpest tools. The river did not lie more than usual, but still tried to hurl them back. The far shore grew clearer. First the willows divided, then the clay sharpened into sight. The raft struck mud with a dull sound and stuck fast. The monkey leapt first, found firm ground beneath slime, and pulled the raft toward shore. The rooster followed, holding the pole like a mast on a calm sea. The goat stepped last, light-footed, as though the world were only a mountain path. Then the three of them dashed toward the finishing stones. Only then did the day resemble a race. They crossed the line in graceful confusion. The herald's staff rose and fell. 8th place to the goat, 9th to the monkey, 10th to the rooster. The order mirrored the work of each. The Jade Emperor did not smile, but satisfaction touched his gaze. He had always loved when a plan fell rightly into place, though this plan had not begun as a plan at all. It was the river's page. The rest the calendar preserved. The monkey took the 9th earthly branch, called Shen. Her time is the double hour from mid-afternoon to sunset, when shadows lengthen over fields and alleys, when shopkeepers weigh what remains on the stall and decide what can still be sold, when the laborer, aching since morning, suddenly finds the joint that held all wrong and sets it right. Shen marks the 7th lunar month. The burning summer turns toward the steel coolness of early autumn. On the compass it leans southwest toward the road westward. In the stack of elements, this branch hides metal, and beneath it, water and earth by the season. The mood of the time, clear eyes, quick hands. The hour suited for precision, for the final stroke that makes the day complete.
Physicians bound the monkey's hour to the bladder. It meant the body must release what it holds so the evening may be at peace. Anyone who has carried the heaviness of the day in their kidneys knows the truth hidden in the chart. Late afternoon offers one last chance to stand straight before family and night settle upon the home. The monkey writes this into the hours, a second wind, the last right choices, the small change that turns work into completion. No medical texts are needed, only a bench by a shop front and the habit of watching neighbors at 4 o'clock. The year of the monkey carries the same sharpness. It favors quick minds, those who turn suddenly without letting improvisation dissolve into chaos. Families say the monkey rewards those who prepare and then play. Yet it tempts the talkative to speak when silence is wiser. A plan tested by the monkey's year can survive surprises. A fool who invents a new trick every hour remains a fool in a house where the abacus does not laugh. The sign promises no happiness to every smiling face. It demands its own labor. Prepare, watch, change with the world. Do not boast, do not stop. When people speak of friends born under the monkey, they do not search rare words but pull them from the street. Quick, charming, able to find a way through a crowd. The one you need beside you when the wheel sticks.
a neighbor who can coax a clerk toward reason without stripping his dignity, a colleague who meets an error with a jest that saves both time and pride. Yet the list carries warning: restless, eager to seize the new before the old is finished, too ready to claim triumph before the first joints are cut. Flaws do not cancel gifts, they only remind where to place the hand. On the great wheel, the monkey joins easily with the rat and the dragon. Together they build plans that work by wit and by might. The rat lends focus and quiet courage. The dragon gives scope of vision, not only pride. The monkey binds ambition to execution. The monkey's hidden ally is the snake. One sees what is still veiled, the other strikes at the perfect moment. They need no explanation between them. Opposite sits the tiger. Their quarrel is ancient and honest. Pride and cunning hinder one another on a narrow road. Yet on a broad road, they may together save a valley. The circle holds both truths without apology. Each element tints the monkey differently. The wooden builds, cuts new trails, raises frames. The fire shines and gathers people without effort. The earth plans to the inch and keeps her word on time. The metal is exact and spares no sloppiness. The water listens, adapts, and changes course with ease. Elders guard these names as handles for memory. The shop survived a hard year because a cousin, Metal Monkey, turned the accounts from rumor to truth. A crew of porters fond of shortcuts learned to respect a water monkey foreman who changed the road yet still arrived on time. These are not reports of science, but a way to preserve a community's lived wisdom. The monkey moves easily through the rooms where stories are told. In operas and on scrolls, she leaps through clouds with an iron staff, mocks the arrogant spirits until a patient monk teaches her where to aim her strength. Children laugh at her mischief, adults trace another line. Talent is storm until discipline makes it weather the fields can trust. The monkey is both pupil and teacher. She errs, laughs at herself, tries again, and becomes the figure the whole land recognizes the moment the mask rises on the stage. This lesson suits the sign better than any sermon. On New Year's days, the monkey arrives differently. In Prince, she holds a peach, the fruit of the Western Queen, keeper of long life. The monkey with a peach is a blessing of health. On other engravings, she rides a horse. Together they declare promotion at once, for the words for monkey and marquis sound alike, and the horse can mean immediately. Merchants hang these puns without shame. The calendar has always been a language of jokes that mean more than they appear. Artists loved monkeys beyond fortune. On old scrolls, gibbons and macaques swing branch to branch above clear streams. A scholar in a mountain hut watches and smiles. In these paintings, the monkey is no clown, but a mirror of the mind seeking freedom from noise, yet still in love with the world. This, too, is the sign's face, curiosity that needs no audience to live. Across the wide lands where this calendar is heard, the image shifted and deepened. In Japan, 3 monkeys cover eyes, ears, and mouth. See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. In China, the same gestures appear in temple carvings, understood at once, though their origin is forgotten. In the southern mountains, the singing gibbons cry at dawn, and in poems, the words for gibbon and hermit trade places without need of gloss. The sign has never been only one trick. The monkey's hour offers a household practical counsel. Finish what was begun before noon. Drink water, stretch the back, lay the last effort into the day. If you work with tools, sharpen them. If with words, choose the final ones so the evening inherits no trouble. These small rules carry more homes through the year than all the grand laws. Marriage tables and fortune charts use the sign to say what people already know. Monkey with rat builds as though things assembled themselves. With dragon, they move affairs forward and ideas seem inevitable. With snake, they turn a delicate plan into fact that looks like luck. With tiger, they create legend or ruin, depending who yields the road. It is not fate, only the habit of drawing maps along the paths people walk. When the monkey meets her own year, elders do what they do for all: fortify the heart, tie a red cord at wrist or waist, light incense and speak their name where the year's spirits listen without offense. Remind the clever, do not cut corners. Remind the charming, do not mistake applause for trust. The advice is the same in every town and village. Your gifts can save you, but they can also betray you. Walk with them openly, but do not let them lead you by the nose. Now return to the river for one last glance. The monkey did not win by speed, not by size. She won by turning wreckage into a raft, by making a slimy shore into a landing. She won because a small crew became a single body where each found their place. She came ninth because she let the goat step first and did not mistake the count of time for pride. The order in the list reflected the truth of the day. The monkey's gift is not to be first, but to make possible what seemed impossible at the start. If the sign must be drawn in one line, bring it back to the raft. At that moment, when the current tried to break them into splinters, the monkey drove in her pole and smiled. "Try again," she told the river. And the river tried, and the raft answered, and the task became a road. That is how the monkey works in year and in home. Watch closely, change quickly, laugh often but not cruelly. Lay your hands on what needs them, and do not let go until it stands firm.
The river did not love order. She delighted in blurring edges and tangling lines. The rooster loved order and did not blush to say so. He stepped from the shore with feathers smooth as lacquer and looked at the water the way an overseer looks at accounts in the twilight. The goat had already found a knot of branches among the roots. The monkey bent rods into ribs and twisted lianas into rope. The rooster walked the length of the raft, tapping with his beak, and spoke in a voice that sliced the air. "Poles first, 2 to a side, count them loud. Do not let the prow drift. If the prow drifts, you will row all day and sleep in the mud." The staff struck stone and the raft was free. At once the river played her old trick, spun the prow toward a channel that would have swallowed them and carried the wreck downstream into another's misfortune. The monkey laughed and drove the pole. The goat held the prow steady, finding that narrow edge of balance the world pretends not to know. The rooster braced at the stern and began the count in clear, sharp measure, matching the pulse of the current. 1, 2, 3, change, 1, 2, 3, hold. The voice did not shout from pride. It sounded because work must be heard. The raft straightened. It moved by angles, not curves. It struck a hidden root, but the count did not falter. The monkey shifted sides without command. The goat leaned. The poles bit deep. The raft slid past, as though the river had tried to give a lesson and found the lesson already learned. At that very moment, above them, grander scenes unfolded. The dragon gathered clouds and poured rain where fields had cracked like old clay pots. He bent low and gifted a breath of wind to the gray wanderer clinging to a log. The rat chose companion and moment, and markets remembered both when scribes began to mark years in the margins. The ox bore the weight of water and another's life, and did not complain when the tally set him second. The tiger did what tigers do when the world resists. The snake waited and found the missing inch. The horse came steady and honest, and kept her pride even when surprise robbed her of the place she nearly won.
But the raft's crew saw none of this. They had their own line, their own rhythm, their own vessel that an hour ago had been scrap and now was a ship because 3 bodies acted as a single mind. The far shore opened, willows, clay, and reeds divided into view. The raft touched land and stuck fast. The monkey leapt first to pull at the prow. The goat came last, testing each patch of mud before trusting it with her hooves. The rooster, like a sailor on dry deck, carried the stern and guarded the line of poles from the reed trap that could easily have caught them. Then the 3 ran. The goat reached the stones first, bowing her head with mountain grace. The monkey landed next with a grin wide enough to earn her place. The rooster came third in that brief dash, spreading wings halfway as if saluting the judgment of a day well done. The herald lifted his staff, and order entered the chronicles. 8th to the goat, 9th to the monkey, 10th to the rooster. It matched their labor. The one who held the prow and bore the chief weight was marked first. The master who made fragile wood into a vessel came next. The keeper of time and course brought the crew home and without complaint accepted the third. The Jade Emperor watched the trio with the look of a ruler who finds quiet joy in work purely carried through. His gaze lingered on the rooster and softened, as the gaze softens of one who sees his own truth reflected. The world is too vast to go without voices that know when to give a signal and when to keep silence. The rooster lowered his head, raised it again in a gesture like a ceremonial bow, and stepped aside, yielding the finishing stones to the next. The calendar gathered his tail into the body of time.
The rooster claimed the 10th earthly branch. Its ancient name is Yu. It governs the double hour from late day to early evening, when the sun bows toward the west and the first tint of night glimmers in the window glass. It rules the 8th lunar month, the season of harvest, when orchards sag with fruit and smoke rises straight from courtyard hearths into the still sky. Its direction is the west. Its element, in the old teaching, is metal, cold, exact, and enduring, the kind that accepts and preserves a blade's edge. You feel this without any book if you live in a small town where the day still rests on hands and habits. At this hour, the shopkeeper sweeps the floor and counts his takings. Children answer the call from alleys. Men and women wash their arms to the elbows and taste the broth to test the salt. This hour belongs to the rooster. His cry closes the accounts and tells the household what sort of night will follow if the day has been properly laid to rest. The branch itself carries the memory of another life. It whispers, "You began as the image of a wine vessel." The 8th month is the season of young wine and the careful labor that keeps sweetness from souring. The rooster stands here as steward and watchman. He crows at dawn, yet his essence belongs to twilight as well. The vessel must be cleansed, the gate must be locked. Do this rightly, and morning will come as a friend, not as a judge. The old physicians gave the hour of the rooster to the kidneys. They meant that evening is the time to restore what heat and toil have drained away. Drink clean water. Let the back rest. Do not stand beneath the sun when it has already done its work. Modern tables may argue over the details, but the essence remains: habit. A home that respects the rooster's hour sleeps more soundly. A field hand who pauses then will live through more seasons and reach less often for bitter remedies. The year of the rooster brings a flavor many recognize before the almanac names it. It loves order. It honors timetables kept. It leans toward honesty that waits for no permission. It often rewards those who labor as though watched, even when no one is near. Yet every clear habit casts a shadow. Punctuality may sour into scolding. Precision may harden into pride in being precise. A calendar does not replace conscience.
It only lends a family simple words for traits already known in themselves and their neighbors. Talk of those born in the year of the rooster sounds like kitchen chatter as the day is being folded away. Reliable, direct, organized to the point where a careless friend may laugh and a grateful one may ask for help. Proud of their work, if the work deserves pride. Calmly ready to stand before others and finish what others left half done. But flaws walk beside them. A taste for being right that can turn into a hunger always to be right. An eye sharp for dust, yet blind to sorrow. These faults do not erase the strengths. They mark the line where care becomes fault-finding and strength turns into display. A wise elder praises the sturdy part and points to that line so the child learns to step back from it. On the great circle, the rooster shares the table with the ox and the snake. Together they weave harmony of method, craft, and responsibility. The ox lends endurance. The snake gives the sudden flash of insight when the hand must act. The rooster keeps the measure and the law. If you have seen a workshop where the deadline was met without panic, you have seen their power together. The rooster's secret friend is the dragon. The reason is plain. A grand vision needs a clear voice to cut through smoke and noise. A strong voice needs a worthy vision, or else it spends itself in empty cries. Across from the rooster sits the rabbit. Old words call this a clash. The rabbit loves soft deadlines and mending small things. The rooster loves the inked timetable and the rule that remains a rule. In one courtyard they quarrel, until each understands why the other insists. Then the household runs beautifully. The elements give each return of the sign its shade. The wooden rooster builds shelves and rooms that breathe. The fire rooster sparks a team and will not allow a weak moon to cancel a strong plan. The earth rooster preserves records respected by the inspector and understood by the widow. The metal rooster is exact and tolerates no excuses. The water rooster is eloquent and holds a hall without losing the thread. Elders recall these names as milestones on a family road. A shop opened its second stall in the year of the metal rooster and survived because its accounts were clean. A sister took her place in the school in the season of the wooden rooster and turned a storeroom into a library. A cousin who distrusted his own voice found it in a water year and began to sell what he made, no longer apologizing for himself. The rooster has a long life in images. Country folk speak of the bird's 5 virtues. Courtesy, for the comb sits upon his head like a cap of the court. Martial spirit, for the spurs are knives at the ankles. Courage, for he fights to guard the yard. Compassion, for he calls the hens to eat before he takes a grain himself. Faithfulness, for he crows in his appointed hour without fail. These are not tales for children's smiles. They are a way of saying, the small creature that keeps time and order teaches the great to hold their dignity. Look around at the new year and you will see these virtues in paper and paint. A proud rooster stands upon a drum as if summoning the whole town. Another carries a mirror in his beak, a sign of clear sight and a household that knows itself. A third strides beneath the rising sun with the ancient inscription, Golden Rooster, Herald of Dawn, placed where only a careful eye will notice. These images are riddles and prayers at once. They ask the year to begin in clarity and end in harvest. They praise what the rooster does in every yard where a family rises before the light. The bird appears also above doorways. In some villages, the rooster is painted on the lintel with one leg lifted. People call this pose the golden rooster standing on one leg. The same name lives in the halls of martial arts, where students learn to balance on one foot and keep the center still while the upper body moves. Balance without tremor is a sermon without a preacher. The image guards the threshold for the same reason it trains the body. Stand firm, look straight, know when to move and when to keep your place. Religion and legend place the bird near the sun. Priests who banish restless spirits tell of his cry that tears the dark so day may enter. Processions honoring the star of the year carry a feathered staff and ring small bells in echo of the morning chorus. On family altars, a white rooster may stand beside wine and fruit when prayers are spoken for safe childbirth or a traveler's return. The logic is clear. A home that wakes on time and lays the day to rest on time will endure through any weather. The sign travels and never loses its essence. In Korea, the rooster struts through folk paintings that promise long life. In Japan, he walks freely in temple courtyards belonging to the goddess who returned the light. In Vietnam, the sign holds its place in the circle of 12, guarding the same blend of pride and duty. A child who draws the rooster for the festival will be praised for firm lines and an eye that knows where the comb belongs and where the tail. The hour of the rooster enters the home with counsel. Wash your face, drink water. Stand on the threshold and look west with a long breath before you set the chopsticks on the table. Bring the day into order. Do not drag street quarrels under the roof. If a hard talk with a neighbor must be set, this hour is fit to name the place and time, not to shout in anger. The rooster knows. Law begins at home. The rules are simple, yet such rules keep a roof dry from year to year. The sign works in unions as well. The ox and rooster may run a shop that survives in hardship. The snake and rooster plan and act so neatly that from the outside it looks like luck. The dragon and rooster guide a crowded office without letting noise prevail. The rabbit and rooster must teach each other softness and firmness if they wish to share one table. This is no mystery, only the habit of laying words on patterns that repeat in life. When the rooster meets his year, the elders do as they always have. They calm the heart. They tie a red thread on wrist or belt. They advise a visit to the temple to speak one's name. They urge against giving 3 promises when one is enough. They ask the blunt-spoken to weigh a phrase if it will live long in another's memory. This is not fear. It is order, the very order the sign itself teaches to keep. If you want the rooster in a handful of images, take the river and the yard. On the river, a small creature with a sharp voice turns a raft into a ship because time is kept and commands are clear. In the yard, the bird lifts his head into the first gray of morning and tells the village, the day has begun. Trust it. The sign is no painted hero. It is a steward. It is a keeper. It is the habit of laying the day in order at its end so the beginning has space to breathe. That is why the rooster sits where he does in the circle of years, not first, not last, but in the west, where the light inclines and the hours ask respect. The world needs voices that can say enough when that enough saves the household. It needs a measured cry that is neither rebuke nor song, but something between that moves people in the right direction with almost no effort. The rooster gives this and takes his 10th place without further request.
But even before the herald raised his staff, the dog had already tasted the river. She licked once, snorted at the chill, as if to say that frost is no trouble for one who has kept watch through winter nights. A broad brow, keen eyes, a tail that betrayed mood before the mouth chose words. She trotted along the bank and marked the scents: fish, silt, horses, the print of the tiger, the faint thread of rain in the upper air, meaning a long body of cloud was already thinking of mercy. The dog's thoughts counted themselves in quiet sums. The river was wide, but not a wall. She would cross it for the sheer joy of swimming,
and then she would run, legs drumming, heart hammering with the simple delight of being alive. The staff struck stone. The dog plunged cleanly, rose with ears slicked back and a smile closer to a gatekeeper's welcome than an enemy's snarl. She swam with ease. Few creatures breathe so well on water as on land. The dog carved her own corridor through the current and held it. Not a spear in flight, but an oar in steady labor. The stream tested her. She accepted. She snapped at foam as it rolled to her muzzle, shook drops like stars from her whiskers. In mid-river she paused, not from fear, but from sudden irresistible desire to play. The river curled around her paws with the patience it keeps only for those it has seen before. The dog splashed twice, laughing in puppy laughter. She chased her own wake for a single breath. Then she remembered the stones of the finish and struck out again with powerful strokes that might have brought her in among the first if joy had not slowed her. When she found the bottom and leapt through reeds, others were already in place. The rat had jumped from the ox and claimed first, and men will argue over it as long as grain is stored behind doors. The ox took second with the grandeur of one unafraid to carry another's load. The tiger smoldered in morning light and bore his head like a banner no wind could bend. The rabbit shook water from his whiskers and lifted his eyes to the sky, as if thanking a friend who never boasts. The dragon descended from clouds and accepted the fifth place, which to others seemed a prize. The snake turned surprise into a bridge. The horse swallowed astonishment and kept its pride. Goat, monkey, and rooster turned a raft into a ship, for 3 minds agreed to move as one. The dog ran the last steps as though returning from a night patrol and set all 4 paws on the stone of finish. The herald lifted his staff and scribes marked the 11th sign. The dog stood there, tail wagging, tongue lolling, pleased both with the water still dripping from her coat and with the fact that she too was now counted among the years. Whispers ran through the crowd. "Why so late?" asked those who bow to speed. But the Jade Lord found no need to answer. His decree was clear. He had called for arrival, not for excuses. The dog had crossed rightly and honestly, and even in that plain act had found joy. In a world where there will always be room for a brave guardian and a faithful friend, there was room also for a creature that had not forgotten how to be happy, even beneath the eyes of heaven. Turn the page from river to calendar, and the dog takes her rightful place in the body of time.
She is the 11th earthly branch, her ancient name Shu. She rules the double hour from early evening into the deep of night, roughly 7 to 9 o'clock, when lamps are lit in courtyards and gates are locked against the dark. She governs the 9th lunar month, when autumn is clear and sharp, and the harvest lies already stored in bins. Her place on the great circle is west-northwest. In the language of the 5 elements, the dog carries the root of earth, beneath which slumbers hidden fire, and close beside it glimmers the sheen of metal, for the season drifts toward cold. These facts sound dry until you picture the home at that hour. Lamps burning, gates barred, the day accounted for. It is the watchman's time, the dog's hour. Families have trusted this bark for so many centuries that its sound at dusk became the knot on which house and world alike are fastened. The old physicians gave the dog's hour to the pericardium, the sheath of the heart, guarding it from fever and shock. Beside it in their tables they set the triple heater, that subtle system which moves warmth and moisture so that every part of the body receives its due. Such charts can be read as poetry and will still retain their sense. Evening is the hour when a house soothes the heart, when food and water turn into rest, when an even voice keeps fear from the doorway of night.
The dog's hour bears this duty as lightly as breath. The year of the dog carries a mood you can feel without consulting calendars. It rewards loyalty. It cherishes the plain word. It honors the kind of work that lets neighbors sleep in peace. In such years, contracts are read more closely, promises are kept with fewer excuses, and people more often step forward to defend the wronged. Yet with gifts come cautions. The passion for justice may sour into suspicion if the heart is not washed in the twilight. The love of truth may sound like harsh preaching if mercy is forgotten. A household ruled only by the dog's nature may be stern. One tempered by laughter as well will be both strong and kind. Of those born in dog years, the talk is simple, honest, devoted, brave in the ordinary sense that matters most, the readiness to stand guard while others sleep. A friend who answers before the plea is finished, a swift defender of a child or a stranger, one who speaks an unpleasant truth to ward off a greater harm. Yet beside these virtues walk their shadows, an anxious spirit that steals rest, a habit of judging the self too harshly, a tendency to brood over wrongs too long. These are not sentences, only risk lines drawn beside the road of gifts. On the great circle, the dog chooses company as sensibly as any yard's master. Best of all, she runs with the tiger and the horse, 3 strands of zeal, endurance, and loyalty, trading places yet never dropping the rope. The dog's secret friend is the rabbit, a union where the guardian learns gentleness and the home gains both safety and tenderness. Opposite stands the dragon. Old proverbs call this a clash. Authority and law do not always bow to one another on a narrow bridge. In one city, they may keep each other true, but only if they learn without pride. Each return of the sign is colored by an element. The wooden dog builds fences that keep peace between neighbors without turning them into prisons. The fire dog blazes with righteous courage, able to light 1,000 lanterns with one spark. The earth dog is steady, her reckoning trusted even by widows after a hard year. The metal dog is precise, yielding nothing from rules that preserve safety. The water dog listens better than most and speaks little, but with piercing truth. Elders pass these traits down in stories. In a metal dog year, a night market rid itself of bribes and grew safe again. In a wooden dog year, a fallen bridge was rebuilt and villagers crossed once more without shouting over the river. A fire dog joined rescuers and stayed when floods came, teaching the world new words for bravery.
Yet the dog's story is not all gentle. In the first dynasties, the hound stood at the edge of ritual, as all living beings once did. Oracle bones bear record of their sacrifice. They were buried by gates and thresholds, trusted to guard the spirit of the home. The ancient character for sacrifice joined the sign of dog with the image of altar. In time, the rites softened. Clay figures replaced blood, paper charms replaced clay, and at last only sayings and talismans remained. Now, the image of a dog upon the door is enough. A red slip with a painted pup listens to footsteps as keenly as flesh. The heavy past stays in memory, but not in law, and that is where it belongs. Folklore keeps kinder tales as well. People say the dog once stole seeds from heaven and carried them down to humankind, hidden in its tail. This song is still sung in mountain villages, where the first green on terraced fields means one more year of survival. In the south and west, they honor the legend of brave Panhu, the dog who won the hand of an emperor's daughter and became the forebear of clans proud to say their name is loyalty. Another side of the image looks upward. The celestial dog is a shadow in the sky, said to swallow the sun or moon during eclipse. Then people struck drums and shouted, driving the beast to release the light. Children laughed at the din and learned without words. The dog walks the line between fear and comfort. That same line runs through temple courtyards. On a shelf beside the incense vessel stands the small figure of the earth god, and at his side a faithful companion. In one village it is a tiger, in another a dog. The meaning is the same. Heaven judges, earth preserves order. The dog paces between them, not letting misfortune find a gap. Walk through the New Year market and you will see the dog sign shining in puns and symbols. Its bark echoes the word for prosperity. Traders place a figurine beside their coins and smile as if to say, fortune favors a friendly guard. On paper cutouts, a puppy plays with a pearl ball, a wish that luck will roll into the house and stay there. And at the gates stand stone lions, which foreigners mistake for dogs. In truth, they are lions, emblems of imperial power. But the very confusion tells the point. Whether lion or dog, the threshold asks for the same thing, a protective face that will not let evil enter. Tales give the dog a voice to trust. Judges tell of loyal hounds whose bark unmasked lies. Children grow on songs of a dog that led a lost boy from the bamboo grove. The most grateful family in the village is the one that heard barking in the night and learned in the morning that thieves had passed them by. Dogs need no armor to be heroes. Sensitivity and the will to stand between door and darkness are enough. The dog's hour enters the house with simple rules. Bolt the gate. Let your eyes sweep the rooms. Praise your kin for what they have done today. Speak plainly of what comes tomorrow. Give water to plants if they thirst. Set a bowl of food and clean water for the one who guards you. Sit in the courtyard and listen to the night until your breathing joins its breath. These are small things, yet they make walls stronger than brick. In marriage and friendship, the dog sign is read as a map of experience. Dog and tiger stand back to back and thank each other afterward. Dog and horse walk roads others would not dare. Dog and dragon build a home with both safety and kindness. Dog and dragon may save a city if they learn respect, or ruin it if they quarrel over every minute. These are not fates, but conversation maps. When the dog meets her own year, the elders recall old customs that strengthen the heart. A red thread tied at wrist or waist. A temple visit where one speaks their name in the presence of the year's power. Gifts in the first month to remember that protection and generosity are kin. Avoid quarrels with officials. Rest in the evenings. In the dog's year, courage comes by itself, but calm must be sought. Yet there is another lesson easily missed because it is simple. The lesson of joy taken seriously. The dog came late because she loved the river, even as she swam it. She claimed her place without shame. She shook herself, sprayed the scribes, and did not blush at their laughter. The calendar preserved that moment for all who need it. Duty can be heavy, but sometimes duty and happiness are not enemies. The dog teaches us to recognize such moments and not lose them. Look again at her sign in the hour when lamps are lit, and you will know why she stands where she does upon the circle. The dog is the voice that calls children in from the street. It is the step that tests the bar on the gate. It is the shape behind the door when you return weary, and your shoulders lift because the guard has heard you come. It is the friend who patrols the border so the center may sleep in peace. That habit became a year. That year became part of the great history of time. So when people say, "He was born in the year of the dog," deep down they mean one thing. Here is a person who will stand by you when it matters most, who will bark at the night until the night itself decides to go.
The river did not object to laughter. It had heard such sounds before, and heard them again when the pig stepped onto the bank, unhurried, with a gait that declared the world wide enough for both race and feast.
Those born under her sign build homes where banquets happen more often than quarrels, and where laughter lasts longer than reproach. The pig's secret friend is the tiger. On paper, this union looks strange, but in life it proves surprisingly strong. The tiger brings courage, the pig steadiness and luck. Together they create the habit of sharing, and in that habit lies true happiness. Opposite her on the great circle sits the snake. Old books call this a clash. The snake loves control and precision, while the pig thrives on trust and openness. Place them in the same yard and sparks will fly, unless each learns to honor what the other keeps safe.
The elements lend each year of the pig its own unmistakable flavor. The wooden pig is generous, skilled at building through cooperation, a master who also knows how to plan for the future. The fire pig dazzles, drawing friends and patrons with a brilliance that cannot be ignored, yet must remember not to burn through its own stores for the applause of others. The earth pig is steady, conducting affairs with patience and reliability, able to preserve families even through the hardest winters. The metal pig holds to promises as if they were contracts sealed in stone, almost impossible to move once its path is chosen. The water pig is attentive and supple, turning luck into reality through quiet connections. Elders recall these flavors as marks upon memory. A market that grew honest and fair during a metal pig year remained trustworthy even in decline. A wooden pig helped a village rebuild its bridge and preserve unity, for the strong gave freely without being asked. And a cousin who once laughed too easily learned discipline in a fire pig year, and only then began to thrive in earnest. But the pig is not only a sign traced on a chart, it is the animal that fed the land and shaped the language. In ancient customs, the pig, with ox and goat, formed a triad of sacrificial gifts that bound the living with their ancestors. A whole pig, polished until its skin glowed red and fragrant with spice, led wedding processions in the South and appeared at the opening of shops or theaters. A suckling pig, roasted and shared among a crowd, was more than food. It was a public promise of generosity. Even the written word remembers this truth. The character for home is a roof above with a pig beneath, an old jest and a timeless lesson. A house is shelter for family and food, and a pig under the roof marks the difference between hunger and abundance. The shape of the word continued to teach this truth long after life in the courtyards had changed. Folk art ties the pig to fortune. New Year prints show it round as a full moon, surrounded by piglets, each scrambling for the best place. Shops hang such images, asking the year for wealth and fertility, in sales, in sons and daughters, in ideas that must never run dry. Another picture paints a plump pig on a cart loaded with coins. Children laugh at once and understand. Wealth favors the merry, and merriment itself draws wealth. In Vietnam, woodblock masters print spotted pigs with spirals on their sides like whirlpools. They are hung near hearths, so prosperity will find its way to the kitchen. In Japan, the sign becomes a wild boar, but its spirit does not change. Hunters respect its courage. Artists paint the same stubborn vigor that fills households in the year of the pig. Literature gave this sign a face that one can argue with and still love. In Journey to the West, among the pilgrims walks a companion who loves to eat, to sleep, to jest loudly, and to fight when the moment demands it. He stumbles, repents, tries again. He is selfish and kind within a single chapter, as people are. He lives in a world of gods and monsters, yet belongs to every kitchen where a boisterous friend suddenly carries a child to safety when danger rises. His flaws instruct, his good heart saves, and the pig claims him with pride.
In daily speech, the sign lives on. A mother calls to a child lingering too long at table. Enough, the day ahead is long. A grandmother taps a greedy hand with laughter, knowing greed is the twin of generosity and can be taught into kindness. On market stalls, clay pigs are molded into coin banks, painted bright so that coins learn to gather in cheerful company. A child smashes the bank at year's end and discovers with delight that patience turns into plenty. The pig greets people in temples and at thresholds. In some places, a figure of clay or paper is placed on the altar of the earth god with fruit and wine at the opening of a shop. Elsewhere, when sending off the kitchen deity, people seal his mouth with sweets, so only kind words rise to heaven. These are simple, sincere customs. The pig does not demand fear, it asks for gratitude. It accepts jokes and returns respect in strong blessings, a roof that does not leak, a belly without complaint. The hour of the pig enters the home with old rules that have guarded peace for centuries. Supper early and plain. Bowls washed and placed upside down so the night may pass through the kitchen without pause. Coins counted and returned where the hand will find them easily in the morning. Thanks spoken to the cook. Thanks to the one who fetched water. A piece of sweetness shared with a child, then a warm word to send them to sleep. Gentle talk about tomorrow's tasks. These are not grand gestures, but from them the days are woven. The pig rules this hour because it knows that comfort and discipline sit at the same table. In marriage and in bonds, the sign works as a carpenter's square, measuring the frame. Pig and rabbit build a house where guests are always welcome and hunger is unknown. Pig and goat raise children so kindly that kindness itself seems natural. Pig and tiger draw up plans bold yet reasonable. But pig with snake must learn to respect secrecy and order, or they will weary of each other. Pig with monkey must agree on money early, or laughter will turn sharp. These are not decrees, only ways of speaking about patterns long observed. Every sign meets its own year again. When the pig greets its own year, elders calm the heart with familiar rites. A red thread on the wrist, a red sash beneath the clothes, a visit to the temple of the year's star, a small offering before the first month closes. The wisdom is always the same. Be generous but not naive. Feast but do not waste. Celebrate births but avoid quarrels. Yield in disputes and strengthen the home. The essence remains. Let plenty serve justice. And so we return to the riverbank. The pig did not win by speed, but it finished the circle. It set the final mark and made the story whole. This is a victory of its own kind, for a creature that trusts table, field, and family more than banners. The pig knows the year must close so a new one can begin. It stands at the end with broad back and steady breath. It calls the world to sit, to eat, to rest, to laugh, and to arise renewed.
If you wish to see the sign in a single image, picture the stone of the finish beneath a sky where stars are just beginning to shine. Upon it steps a great, contented animal. It has eaten, it has slept, it has swum, it has arrived. Now the year may turn. The circle is complete.